Hi, my name is Hannah Saramuga, and I am here to talk about 5 subjects that I believe all significantly contribute to the development of personality. To me, personality is a particular and specific combination of emotional, attitudinal, and behavioral responses, the patterns of an individual, which shapes their lives. Everybody possesses their own unique personality. However, one personality can be affected by self, environment, others, mood, and culture. The 5 things that I will be discussing throughout my video are guilt, anxiety, self-actualization, learned helplessness, and self-control. So my first subject is guilt. Guilt is the state of being responsible for the commission of an offense. It is also a cognitive or an emotional experience that occurs when a person realizes or believes that he or she has violated a moral standard and bears significant responsibility for that violation. Sigmund Freud has described guilt as a result of a struggle between the ego and the superego. He considered the obstacle of an unconscious sense of guilt as the most powerful of all obstacles to recovery. As with any other emotion, guilt can be used to manipulate, control, or influence others. One theorist by the name of Fennikel even went so far as to state that the mastery of guilt feelings may become the all-consuming task of a person's life. So basically what all this is saying is everyone will experience guilt sometime in their lives, but different things can trigger guilt for different people, and two people can do the same exact thing and only one person could feel guilty about it. So the second aspect of my theory of personality is anxiety. Anxiety is a psychological state which is characterized by somatic, emotional, cognitive, and behavioral characteristics. It is a displeasing feeling of fear and concern. However, anxiety is considered to be a very normal reaction to a stressor. It may help an individual dealing with a demanding situation by prompting them to cope with it. Freud has identified 3 types of anxiety: objective, neurotic, and moral. Objective anxiety is basically fear. Such anxiety occurs in response to a real external threat to the person. In this case, the control of the ego is being threatened by an external factor rather than by an internal conflict. Neurotic anxiety occurs when there is a direct conflict between the id and the ego. The danger is that the ego may lose control over an unacceptable desire of the id. The third type of anxiety is moral anxiety. This is caused by a conflict between the ego and the superego. People who punish themselves and have low self-esteem are most likely suffering from moral anxiety. Essentially, anxiety is a signal that the control of the ego is being threatened by the reality, by impulses from the id, or by harsh controls exerted by the superego. So there are many things that can trigger all 3 types of anxiety, and this is something that basically no matter what, everyone will be experiencing throughout their lifetimes. My third aspect of my theory of personality is self-actualization. And this is something that we've been talking about a lot this semester with this class. And self-actualization is defined as the motive to realize one's full potential. In the view of theorist Kurt Goldstein, self-actualization is the organism's master motive, or the only real motive for humans. This is a tendency to actualize themselves as fully as possible. It's the basic drive of everybody. Maslow, who we've been studied extensively, considered self-actualization to be the desire for self-fulfillment, namely for the tendency for people to become actualized in what they could potentially be. This tendency might be phrased as the desire to become more and more what one is to become eventually. Everyone is capable of becoming something, but many people have not been able to reach their full potential yet. There are many common traits that self-actualized people share. These include the ability to embrace reality and facts instead of denying the truth that is right in front of them. They tend to be spontaneous, and they are very focused on problems that occur outside of themselves. So they're very self-aware of what is going on around them. Now my fourth aspect of my theory of personality is self-control. Self-control is the ability to control one's emotions, behaviors, or desires in order to obtain some reward or avoid any kind of punishment. Presumably, some reward or punishment is operating in the short term, which precludes or reduces the later reward or punishment. Exerting self-control through the executive functions in decision-making is held in some theories to deplete one's ability to do so in the future. Self-control is directly related to the pressures that an individual may face. There are definitely pressures that everyone faces through their day-to-day lives, and many different things could pressure people that you wouldn't normally think would pressure you. Just because you aren't pressured by them doesn't mean someone else can't be. So there's good pressure and bad pressure. Good pressure is when an individual is in a competitive yet non-judgmental and non-prejudiced environment. In this case, an individual may become motivated and inspired and actually gain self-control. In a bad situation or a bad environment, there will be bad pressure, which is when an individual is in a judgmental and prejudiced environment and there is no competition. In this situation, an individual may become depressed and unmotivated, and you may find that they will lose all sense of self-control. And my fifth and last aspect of my theory of personality is learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is a condition of a person in which he or she has learned to behave helplessly, even though the opportunity is restored for him or her to help themselves by avoiding an unpleasant or harmful circumstance to which they have been subjected. The learned helplessness theory is the view that clinical depression and related mental illnesses may result from a perceived absence of control over the outcome of a situation. Learned helplessness can be a motivational problem. People may use learned helplessness as an excuse or shield to provide self-justification for failures. So many people, if they feel as though they are failing in any aspect of their lives, may tend to use learned helplessness as an excuse, and so they have not been taught to do anything for themselves, and they feel as though they're not able to succeed as a normal person might be able to because they don't have that own mental capacity and ability. So throughout my individual theory of personality, I went over guilt, anxiety, self-actualization, self-control, and learned helplessness. And there are many other factors which contribute to one's personality, and they all come together to shape the personality that everyone has today. And that is it.